Welcome everyone, this is Coaching in Session. My name is Michael Rearden and I will be your mindset coach today. And today we're going to be talking about true love connection, the blueprint. Because when we get into this time of year, February, Valentine's Day, everyone is looking to get their main squeeze. They already missed the snuggle cuddle season, which is fall and winter. But now we're getting into spring, and spring is supposed to bring about new relationships, new budding relationships. And then sometimes those relationships end in the summer because people want to go out, be free, live their life. There's so much more to do than to be tied down to an individual. But yet, when we look at true connection, maybe true love, we get into the aspect of, is this relationship for the moment? Or is this something that I want to have for the long term? And typically when people come to me for relationship coaching, they're not in their teens, they're not in their 20s, like they're in their 30s now. They're trying to get into a relationship, but there's so many things that we have to unlearn and that we have to learn in order to be in a healthy relationship. Because some of the things that you might have learned or become familiar with in your 20s doesn't really relate in your 30s as much. Because most people in their 30s, they have different values, they have different mindsets. And as long as these people are thinking in that way, we have to almost acclimate, in a sense, not to them, but to the environment. And so if you ask anyone, especially women, you say, hey, is dating easier in your 30s or in your 20s? Most are going to say it's easier in the 20s because the values are not there. They're not worried about the things anymore. They have already built themselves up. By the time they're 30, they probably are successful and they want to find a man who's successful. And maybe men don't have to be successful in their 20s. So they wait until they're 30 to be successful. So then they finally reach 40, they're successful. It's a time lag. But we can make a change to how we think about what a relationship should be rather than what we have been told or what maybe ideally the movies have told us. Or taught us, right? Titanic and our Notebooks. Cool, right? If you want to just be that romantic type of person. But if you want a true, realistic love situation and not just a fling, not just something you swiped right on a social media app, I'm talking about something that you can find true meaning in, whether it be a relationship, a marriage, or just a moment with someone that you will remember for the rest of your life. This blog right here is going to be helping you understand the blueprint for true love connection. So let's take a look at that blog now. All right, everyone, if you're new to the channel, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe and to share the video and or audio to help build a community of people who are looking for love, not in the wrong places, but in the right place. And you are in the right place if you are looking for love. If you know someone who's looking for love and they're in a relationship or they're not in a relationship, or they're always in and out of relationships, or they're always in the wrong relationships, this blog is for them. This is going to be great information for you to instill a little bit of wisdom, a little bit of knowledge. And after you're done telling them this, they're going to say, you should get paid for this. Why not? This blog is going to be giving you most of the answers. And so when we look at this blog, let me tell you one thing, it is a doozy to read because there's many aspects to love. And it's not as easy as just writing a couple paragraphs and not getting any answers. This is going to require many different aspects for a person to have to look at in order to grow into true love. As you can see, if you can see my screen, we have been going for a bit on the screen until we got to the end just now. That means you are going to have to read all of this and you're going to have to understand what these mean, what the self-reflection mean. What does being open-minded mean? How to build connections? What is effective communication? What does trust and honesty look like? I mean, we're going down the list. And you might get to a point where you find that you're really good at something, but then you're not really good at something, right? You can focus on your strengths, but that is not necessarily the problem most of the time. Most of the times we have to look at the areas where we're weak at to have a healthy relationship. Yes, you might know what you want. But what I can tell you is that most people think they know what they want. All right. This is why when you ask a woman, especially, hey, what type of guy you want? Oh, I want a guy who's 6 feet tall, who makes 6 figures, 6-pack abs. Again, this is just the status quo of society right now. that is not helpful for helping people find true love connection. When you want to find true love, it does not matter their height, it does not matter their status, and it doesn't matter their health. What matters is if you can see this person as someone you would want to grow with, but it's hard to see it when everyone else in the world is saying what you need to be looking at. So what I'm telling you is you can look at those things, they could be a bonus, but what I will say is you want to look at these qualities that I have here in the blog, read them all. The link is in the description box below. Check out this blog today. And you want to see if the partner that you're with has most of these traits with them today. Now, if they do not have these traits, do not fear, do not fret. All of these traits, all of these skills can be learned. Not everyone's going to be perfect at a relationship. I wasn't perfect in many of my relationships, but I learned how to be the perfect partner. Not only in the sense of communication, understanding how to divide my time between the business and family, being compassionate, compromising at some points. That right there requires you to have a mindset that can adjust, a mindset that can pivot. So it's not only about emotional intelligence, as many people will say, oh, you have to be emotionally intelligent to understand what your partner is thinking at all times. We're not mind readers, people. So why do we expect our partner to be mind readers to us or for us? We need to know that there's different aspects that people can be strong in people, and then there's going to be aspects that people are going to be weak in. And if we know where they shine, let's focus on that versus at where they're weak. Many people are trying to fill in a hole, maybe with unconditional love, but your partner doesn't know how to give that. So guess what? If you keep looking for that unconditional love, you're going to find yourself unhappy because you're not getting it. But there are going to be ways that you can look at the relationship as maybe is this relationship continual growth? Are we growing each and every day? Are we better than we were last year? That right there can be better than just looking at unconditional love. Like, oh, they love me unconditionally. What does that even mean for you? Did you grow? Did you compromise? What does that mean? Are you spending quality time? Unconditional love can be that I'm just going to be devoted to you and no one else. What does that mean? Does that mean that there's no conditions to if I love you or not? So we don't have to spend time together. We don't have to understand each other. I'm just going to love you because you are you. Unconditional love. So there's many aspects to these traits that are in this blog. You do have to give some answers. It's almost like a survey kind of thing where you're trying to say, okay, how to find true love connection. And then you look at the answers and then you might resonate with one answer. You don't have to resonate with all of them. So this is going to be a blog that's going to be extremely individualized to each person. You might find that as you go down and you pick a couple of these traits, that you only want communication and quality time from your partner. And you don't necessarily want to compromise on things. Okay, find someone who is willing to compromise for you, who wants to spend quality time, and maybe it's not the best communicator, but you're good at communicating, so it fills in the gap. As you can see, there's going to be skills that you can be good at that your partner doesn't have to be good at, and the relationship still works. What I will say is this can be difficult to do by yourself. That is why what we do here at Reven Concepts, we do relationship coaching. We not only help you get into the mindset of what you want for a relationship, but then we get into looking at suitors for, hey, this would be a good fit, even if it might not be an initial thought for you. Because you might say, oh, this person's too short. Oh, this person doesn't make enough money. But yet they might be the perfect match for you at this given time, because they will be the perfect match for you in the future. We don't look at what they are today. We look at what they're capable of tomorrow. And tomorrow can be all the way into the future. It could be 10, 15, 20 years from now. I would rather you have someone who builds into something more than what they are right now than someone who is going to stay stagnant at where they are. Because if you don't know anything about a relationship, the moment growth stops, the relationship stops also. So you have to learn how to grow together, not just simply stay together. Okay, there's so many aspects to relationships, but I'm going to do my best to talk about true love connection. And we're going to step away from the ideas of the blog. This is going to be something that you can read, but we do have to say, hey, this is going to be an aspect of true love connection. And if you want to make some changes in your life, this blog is going to be a great tool for you to use to get in the mindset of true love. With all that being said, that is a lot to digest. I understand it can be a lot because when we're looking at all of these different answers, all of these different emotions, maybe skills, it could be a bit confusing, especially if you're doing all the right things, right? Maybe you're someone who did what they were told. They went to school, they got a good job, they have a career, they make a lot of money, but yet maybe the people that you are looking to attract don't care about the qualities that you work so hard on. And it might seem like, oh, that's like a slap in the face. And it is, because you worked hard on something. You wanted to achieve a goal and you pushed to make sure you got that goal. But now that goal is like insignificant. But what I can say is that when you do something to build you up, I want you to do it only for you. This can be a bit selfish in the sense of that you do something for you. Understand that just because you do something, it doesn't mean that someone else has to acknowledge your accomplishment. This is hard for people to understand because they think true love is 100% acceptance. You have to accept me for being this career-driven individual. You have to accept me for all the things that I have become. You can't accept me for not the things that I am, because that right there is just showing that you don't appreciate what I have done. So getting into that mindset can create a negative flow into the relationship. What needs to happen is if you work really hard on your career, okay, you start a business, family maybe, and you find out that it doesn't work in your first marriage and you're starting a second marriage or something like that. Your family is still going to be there, right? You may be a single parent, doesn't matter man or woman, and you might be looking for that relationship still. What I can tell you is that it could be more difficult, but what I can tell you is it could be more difficult to find someone when you have extra baggage, okay? The baggage doesn't necessarily have to be kids. It could be maybe you are in a type of job that requires you to move frequently, but yet maybe the other individual doesn't want to move because their family is here, or maybe they have elderly parents that they have to take care of. So there can be aspects that can make a relationship work or make a relationship break. So what breaks relationships can be, again, just the wrong time, outside circumstances. It can be skills that we have in the blog. So you might read this blog and you might say, hey, I got all the skills. I'm compassionate. I know how to do communication. I know how to find quality time for my partner. I know how to unconditionally love. I mean, you can say you know how to do all of this. You might think that you're the perfect candidate, but yet just because you know how to do these things, it doesn't make you the perfect candidate automatically. The reason is what the person that you're going with needs might not be what you have. And even if you have every single trait, it might not be in their views to say, hey, this is what I view a relationship, meaning let's spend quality time together. Think of long distance relationships. Those are extremely hard to do because you are not able to spend quality time. You might, yes, call every evening, maybe call in the morning, maybe text throughout the day, but is that truly quality time? To some degree, yes, but it's not like, hey, let's go watch a movie, let's go out to dinner together. Let's just go talk at the park. That right there could be true quality time, where you get to touch the person, you get to see the expressions in real time, in real life, not through a phone or a device. This right here is a different mindset because the person's right in front of you. Your senses are all abound. It's not just looking at something or hearing something. I can touch. I can smell. It is so much more. There is something, I don't know if I talked about this ever on the podcast, but if you are trying to find a suitor, this is a trick for both men and women. Don't just think that one person or the other can do it. This is for anybody who's looking for a relationship. Let's say there's someone you fancy, okay? You need to at least hit 3 of their senses. If you can't hit 3 of their senses, true love connection won't open up. You need to maybe touch them. They need to hear you, right? They need to be able to smell you, things along those lines. So when you go on a first date, sometimes it doesn't work is because those 3 things don't happen at all. So yes, they hear you, they see you, but for fellas, do you maybe hold her hand as she's getting out of the car? Do you hold her hand or whatever as you're walking in or out of the restaurant? I mean, it could be something small like that. Maybe you could put your hand on her shoulder if you're laughing. There's different aspects to touch. It doesn't have to be intimate, physical, full-blown intercourse to touch somebody, okay? Then we get into the aspect of smell, right? Guys, take a bath. You could put on some cologne. The issue with that is, do you put on too much? Do you put on the right one that's going to be familiar with her? Maybe you wore the same cologne that her ex does. Again, these are things that you probably wouldn't even think about or be aware of. But yet, it could be a deal breaker. I just didn't like his cologne, right? It could be that simple. Then we get into the aspect of taste. We're not going to be tasting people on our first date, most likely. So guess what? That's going to be for later when maybe you have a first kiss, right? Or whatever. You're going to say, oh, that was enjoyable. That wasn't enjoyable, something along those lines. And then you're going to look at the five senses and you're going to say, do I want to have 3, or are they good at 3 at least? And then from there, you can say, I want to have a relationship or not. What you also have to look at besides those 3 things initially, if you want to continue pursuing a person, is their mindset. Mindset is so important because you're going to find something that is a deal breaker at some point. It can happen in 2 years or 3 years, or it can happen in 2 dates. It depends on you because you have to ask the right questions. For example, if you are a person that wants to start a family, you want to have 3 kids, and you are going out with a person and they're like, yeah, I don't want a family. I don't want kids. Do you think it is wise to spend your time with this individual? The answer is no. I'm just going to answer it for you. It is not wise to do it, but yet you might be influenced to try to change the person, or you might be influenced to say, you know what? I don't have to have kids right now. I can just have a relationship with this person. And when the relationship ends, maybe naturally because they don't want to have kids later because I couldn't change them, then I'll just say it wasn't a good fit. I shouldn't have wasted all that time. You can live that process. You can learn from that process, whichever or you choose. What I will say is most people who come to me, they have already been through that. They have tried to change people. They have did things in the way that they have been told by their friends. And the moment they come in, I go, hey, tell me what you want. Let's look at your values. Let's look at what you're good at. Let's look at the people that you typically date. Let's look at some suitors that you currently are having right now in your inbox. And then from there, we set up some dates. We talk about the dates, and then we look at what's a possible future. You get to choose your suitor from there. Sometimes it could take some time, but I will say it's not going to take no 2-3 years. Like some relationship coaches, I'm like, Jesus, how in the world are you going to be a relationship coach? You're not even giving people relationships. Or you're going to be a relationship coach and you're not in a healthy relationship yourself. It's important that there's a difference between having game and getting people, and then there's a difference between getting into a healthy relationship. Getting a person from the street or from the club to sleep with you, that's easy. I know people are going to be like, no, it's not easy, especially if you're a guy. You have to look the part, you have to feel the part, and then you have to act the part. Most guys are out of shape. They have a poor mindset. They have a weak, fragile mindset. And that right there is going to show their actions to the girl, right? They're not going to be confident. They're just not going to be the person that these girls are thinking. How do you walk? Do you walk looking down to the ground? I mean, just little cues. If you do these things in front of a person that you have interest in, they're going to pick them up. And it doesn't have to be consciously. It could be just subconsciously, like this person was off. And there's certain things you can't do on dates and that are going to wear them out and freak them out. Maybe eventually you can open up and you can become more comfortable. Think of flatulence. Flatulence is farting, okay? Typically, you're not going to be going on first dates and farting in front of your person or whatever, or opening the bathroom door and leaving it open when you go to the bathroom. Maybe in marriage or maybe like 9 to 10 months in a relationship, you feel comfortable enough to do it, but not in the beginning. So if you do something like that in the beginning, the other person is just not going to feel comfortable. What you want to do is to make a comfort between both people that is, again, level, not trying to lie to each other. We're human, right? We can't change that. But what I can say is that we do have to be aware of comfort levels. So you might not be comfortable on the first date holding hands or kissing. So you don't force it. You gradually move toward it. This is all dating advice, but true love connection is what we talked about today in the blog. What I recommend for everyone who's listening, watching, check out the blog, True Love Connections. As you read this blog and as you answer these questions, and you get to give yourself an understanding of what you do in a relationship, maybe what you attract in a relationship, and then key aspects to what keep a relationship together, you can be better suited for having a long-term relationship. Because most people just don't want to be in and out of relationships. Now, I understand that there's going to be people who go through phases and people who maybe just want to have fun. This blog is not for you, okay? This is for finding true love. If you want to go and have fun, you literally just go to the club, party it up, meet some people, and enjoy life. But again, the people who are ready for a true relationship, true love, this blog right here is going to be a great start for you. And then after, of course, you do the work of reading the blog to understand and identify all the areas that you might need to work on or to maybe not work on because you're super good at them. What I will say is not everyone is going to have all of these traits naturally. Some things people are just going to have blocks on and they do have to work on it. And just because someone doesn't have a trait or someone's really good at a trait, it doesn't mean that that trait is going to triumph over another trait. So as I said, this is a blog for true love connection. You want to read this blog, look at all of these different traits and how to find genuine love connection, because it is more than just physical attraction when you're looking for someone to love. Yes, physical attraction plays a role, but these values, these key concepts and mindsets here that I speak about, that I'm sharing with you, are going to be maybe the key to solidify your relationship for a long-term effect, not just a weekend fling or a summer fling. This is going to be marriage. This is going to be true love. This is going to be long-lasting. If you want something like that in your life, this blog is going to be right down your alley. So in closing, this blog is going to be for people who are looking for love and are looking to maybe find a suitor, maybe try to find a good, healthy relationship. And they might have found that all the relationships that they had in the past just weren't working for some reason, for some odd reason, right? I don't know why people are breaking up with me. I don't know why this is happening in my life. And typically after working with an individual for just maybe 2 months, I can learn the pros and the cons from the person. Now, just because I learn your pros and the cons, I'm not going to use that against you. I just want to know who I'm working with, where you need to work on, and then from there, we can get you exactly where you need to be for that relationship that you're looking to have. If you want to have a family, if you want to have a spouse, there's things that you have to do in order to get it. You might have to elevate yourself or change your mindset. And when I say change your mindset, I don't necessarily mean that you have to compromise. This is something that people think that you have to do in a relationship, and that is so far from the truth. You do not have to compromise something. If you don't feel comfortable with something, for example, weight, if someone's overweight, you might say, I don't want to date someone who's overweight who doesn't take care of themselves. That's perfectly fine. That could be something that you hold true as one of your values, health and fitness. You don't want someone in your life who's just going to be a slob. And if you accepted them as they were in the initial stages of a relationship and they weren't really willing to change, or they didn't see that they had to change and you're trying to push that change on them, there can be some tension in the relationship because you're trying to change a person when the person has to try to change themselves, or change themselves, not even try, but change themselves. So there's different aspects to relationships, different aspects to what you can do in a relationship, what you should be doing. What I will say is, instead of worrying about what other people are and what other people do, you should focus on being the best person for a relationship, meaning you know what type of value you need to bring in a relationship. You know your strengths, you know your skills, and from there, you can use that as leverage. Not saying that you put it against someone saying, hey, I'm this great, you need to love me. But you can say, I'm really good at this. Talk about your strengths. Talk about maybe areas you need to improve on. And typically when you do that in mindset, especially in relationships early on, the person can see that there's a huge potential, a huge gap for growth. is super attractive. So we're looking for growth, not looking for someone who has built themselves up and said, yeah, I'm on a yacht. Yeah, I got my own business. Yeah, I got my own thing. I'm independent. That right there can be attractive to people who don't have it yet. But for the people who have it, it's going to be, and your points, there is no point. So don't flaunt things that are not the point. And depending on who you want to attract, if you're a 40-year-old man who's extremely successful and you want to attract a 22-year-old girl who's still building herself up, guess what? That's going to be a good fit because the relationship is going to work. The dynamic is going to work. You have someone who's extremely successful versus if you have a woman who's maybe 35, no kids, career, extremely successful, that might not be attractive to a male who's 35, who's still building himself up. And it might not even be attractive to the woman, right? She might want a guy who's established. But then that guy also who's established might not want someone who's that old. They might want someone who can give them a lot of kids, or maybe someone who's not so career focused, right? They want that person to be focused on raising the kids and stuff along those lines. Many different aspects to relationships. But what I will say is the focus of the blog that I just showed you today is True Love Connection, looking at different qualities that you need in order to feel truly connected with somebody. When you do feel connected with someone, all the thoughts that we talked about today in this podcast are going to be coming up, are going to be things you're going to be thinking about, and they're going to be things that you need to be aware of. And so I always encourage everyone, if you're looking for true love, if you're looking for a relationship, head over to revenconcepts.com, get yourself some relationship coaching. Don't just simply go on your social media apps like Twitter and Bumble and Match.com and just keep on swiping with no luck. There's going to be good things that you can do on those apps. Again, those apps are a tool, but there's going to be things that you can also do offline that you have to make sure are already present as a foundation before you find the right person. So if you're not in a relationship and you're looking to get into a relationship, this blog is going to be a great starting point. Reaching out to us, revenconcepts.com, get yourself a consultation and begin that journey to find true love, in the sense it could be just for the moment or it could be for a lifetime. My name is Michael Rearden. I'm a mindset coach. If you have any questions, email me coachinginsession@gmail.com, and I'll see everyone on the next episode of Coaching in Session. Until then, everyone take care.